Welcome back to my kitchen. The next page in our taco manual takes us to one of my favorite topics, which is chicharrones. Now, before we get into anything, I have to talk about what chicharrones are, because it's this crisp fried pork skin. And you can find it all over the United States in different places. If you go to a regular grocery store, you'll find something like this. It'll be called pork rinds usually. The texture on it is super, super light. Okay, that's not Mexican chicharrones. Okay, you have to go to a Mexican grocery store and find something called chicharrones, and it's going to have a whole lot more texture. But what are we going to do with chicharrones as a taco filling? Okay, so let me explain this dish to you, because it has become one of my very favorites, but it took me a while to understand what it is. You take these crispy fried chicharrones and you turn them into something that is another texture that everybody in Mexico really loves, but it's kind of a foreign texture to us here in the United States. We're going to simmer it in a roasted tomatillo sauce, very classic dish in central Mexico, but one that I'm going to show you not only how to prepare, but how to appreciate. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is to make the roasted tomatillo sauce. I like to do the roasting under a broiler. A lot of people in Mexico, of course, will do this on a comal, on a griddle. You get your tomatillos and peel them. Have you noticed that in the Mexican grocery stores, a lot of times now, the tomatillos come already peeled? Okay, that makes for very easy use. I've got a medium onion here that I sliced about 1/2 inch thick, and then we've got a serrano chili here, 3 cloves of garlic, and I'm going to slide those under the broiler. I have adjusted the shelf so that it is high up as it can go. I want it to be about 4 inches below the element there, because this is an electric oven here. And then we will let them go for 6-7 minutes until they're blackened and blistered on one side, flip everything over, and then cook it on the other side. You have to watch about the garlic and the serrano, because they may be ready before everything else is. But I'll show you what that's like when we get to it. You can see that these are nicely roasted. Everything is soft here. I'm peeling the roasted garlic cloves out of their papery skin. The skin just helps to protect them. And I'm going to put that into a blender jar now. I'm going to leave the onions there. I let these cool for a couple minutes so that I could handle them. And we'll put that in there. And then I'm going to add some water to this and blend it until we have a coarse puree. Okay, it's a little bit of texture left in this. You can see some of the roasty little bits. That's kind of what I really like with that one. Okay, the next step is to chop up some potatoes. These are the red skin boiling potatoes, and I'm going to cut them into about 1/2 inch pieces and then cook them quickly so that they are already cooked when they go into the pan. Okay, I'm going to put those into a glass bowl, because to me the absolute best way to cook potatoes or blanch potatoes, the easiest way, is to salt them and then give them a little dash of water. I'm going to cover them and put them in the microwave for 4 minutes to cook. If you're not a microwave person, you would do this part of it by blanching in boiling salted water. Okay, the potatoes are ready. Now I need to get some of this water off of it that I put in there to be the steaming, so I'm just going to tip it like that I like to do this with a little bit of salt on them because I think it's like cooking them in salted water. We'll move that back there. I'm going to turn the temperature here to about medium under this pot and give it a nice little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan. When that's hot, we will add this tomatillo puree to it, but I want to season it a little bit right now, so I'm going to put in here a generous half teaspoon of salt, and then we'll see if the temperature is right here. What I'm looking for is a little bit of a crackle, so I hear that. So I'm in the right spot there, and then I add this mixture all at once. This will begin a cooking that will create more sweetness because we're actually caramelizing everything that's in here. And I'm going to let this cook for about a minute. This is not a full cook down. If you've ever seen me make tomatillo sauce before, usually I would cook it down to a paste, but we're not going to do that for this recipe. We're going to keep the flavor a little bit lighter. And while that is cooking there, I'm going to cut the onion into also about 1/2-inch pieces, and then we'll add that along with our chicharron. Now, what happens when you put chicharron, that we all love the crunch of, into this? Well, I'll tell you, it softens to this really, I can only call it a luscious texture. It is just amazing, and it's not like anything that we have in the United States. So it will be a new adventure in texture for you if you've never had this before. Okay, so we've got that all ready to go there. This looks like it's come up to a full boil now. So I'm going to take the chicharron. This is the one from the Mexican market. It has a nice crunch to it. It's not super light and airy, but it doesn't have a lot of pieces of meat on it. Sometimes in the Mexican market, you'll find the chicharron that has a whole lot of meat on it. That will not soften here. So you want it to be pretty clear of meat. And I'm going to add that to the pot. We have our potatoes now to put in here. They're still quite warm. So I'm going to add those in there. And then the last thing that we have here is all of this beautifully roasted onion to put in here. Now, I am showing you a version of this that is, it's not as simple as sometimes you will find in the taquerias. Sometimes in the taquerias, you will only find just the stewed chicharron itself. No potatoes, no onion in here. I like all of the textures that those add to it as well. I'm going to turn this down to a sort of medium-low heat here and put a top set slightly askew so it doesn't boil over. And I'm going to let that cook until the chicharrones are completely soft. That'll take about 15 minutes or so. I saved out a little bit of the chicharron to use as a garnish so that we have a little of the crunchy chicharron as well. And then I'm going to chop up a little bit of cilantro to go in it as well as on it, because I think that will be very welcome here. So I'm chopping right across with a knife, stems and all. And that'll be a good amount there. Let's take a look at what this is like now. Ah, yes. Okay, what I have to show you is what the consistency of it. It's not dry, but at the same time, it's not so juicy that when you make your tacos, everything will fall out. You want it to be thick enough to hold its own shape. I'll take about half of this cilantro, stir that in. Now, it's time to salt it again, but I should taste it. I've added some salt to it, and we had salted those potatoes, but it's a little bit lacking, and so I'm going to sprinkle. Oh, and it's got a really nice spice to it. That serrano was spicy, but just really good. Turn that off. Okay, now let's make tacos. I'll show you what I think is an absolutely perfect build here. You can tell me what you like about this, but I'm going to put a spoonful of our chicharrón guisado on each one of the tacos here. And then I'm going to top it with a little bit of this crunchy chicharrón. So it's like chicharrón times 2 here. The porkiness of that chicharrón is really good. A little bit of queso añejo, so like your cotija style cheese, something that's kind of pungent, which I think goes really well with that. And then just a bit of the cilantro to give a very fresh feel to it. And this is what I've been waiting for since we started this endeavor. I love this stuff.